Save Shadow and Bone, Six of Crows spinoff, Cook Milo versus Save Milo. These are some hashtags and more that you've probably seen all over social media over the last few weeks. This big commotion is being caused by the cancellation of a Netflix original called Shadow and Bone. But what's new? Netflix cancels shows every day. What's so special about this little fantasy series? Shadow and Bone is more than just a show that was axed too early before it was able to properly reach its prime. Shadow and Bone has a built-in fan base, a very dedicated cast, and the viewing numbers to have kept it going for several more seasons. So what's the holdup? Why did Netflix cancel this show after only 2 seasons? Part 1. What is Shadow and Bone? Shadow and Bone is a Netflix original series that premiered in April of 2021 to roaring success. At high viewing numbers, a very passionate fan base, but was more than just a Netflix original series. Shadow and Bone is based off of the very highly popular series by Leigh Bardugo called the Grishaverse. There's actually 7 main series books in this, but you don't have to read all of them to know what's going on. Today we're only going to be talking about 2, Shadow and Bone, which is where the title of the show came from, and Six of Crows. This show follows Alina Starkov. At the beginning, just a regular run-of-the-mill girl who's actually a map maker for the First Army in Ravka. She has no special powers, unlike the Grisha, who are members of the Second Army in Ravka. They have the ability to control water, or create fire, or bend metal at will. It's so cool, but she's just, again, a regular girl. There's no reason to worry about any special powers popping up with her whatsoever. Anyways, Alina and her best friend Mal, who's also a member of the First Army, are stationed at Kirbirsk, which is the closest city to the Shadowfold. The Shadowfold was created hundreds of years ago by this man known as the Black Heretic, who basically just puked up a bunch of shadow and created these dangerous creatures called Volcra. The thing is, they want to get to the other side of the fold to get to the rest of Ravka. They can't go north to the Fjordans because, you know how I mentioned that they're in the army? That's because the Fjordans want to kill them all the time. And they also can't go south because there's a bunch of mountains, and also the southern country, Shuhan, is just kind of like, get out of our country, we don't need you here. So because this giant fold exists that just cuts across the entire land, what they need to do is go straight through it or find a sun summoner, which doesn't exist. So you know how there are several people that are Grisha, they have special powers, like again, they can, do things with fire, or they can bend metal, but there's never been a sun summoner before. Never been someone who can summon light. There have always been prophecies and people dreaming and hoping that one day the sun summoner will appear and they will save us all, they'll get rid of the shadow fold, and everything will just go back to normal. Sadly, a sun summoner doesn't exist, so they have to just go straight through the fold and hope for the best. So they create skiffs, which are these specially created boats that are able to go across sand and are controlled by squallers, who control air and wind and stuff like that. As you can see by my nice little outfit, I am dressed as a tide maker. I've actually always said if I was going to be a Grisha, I'd be an Inferni, but I don't have anything that has red on it, so we're being a tide maker for today. Alina and Mal and all their friends are actually not supposed to go across the fold. All they're doing is just being stationed here in Kirbirsk to create some maps and, get a general lay of the land, and that's it. They're just supposed to see the skiff cross the fold, and that's it. But things go wrong, because of course they do. So Mal, who I said is Alina's best friend, and also this guy she has a super huge massive crush on, is stationed on the skiff. He's just supposed to be the tracker, which is what he does. He's a tracker for the First Army, and he's just supposed to help them get through and, do stuff on the other side. But Alina is not going to take this for an answer, because he is the only person from their unit to be stationed on the skiff. She doesn't like that, because she's never really been separated from Mal. They've known each other since childhood, and yeah, she just doesn't want him going on his own. She always wants to protect him. So she does a little bad thing. She does a huge no-no. She actually sets a bunch of maps on fire so that she can get onto the skiff and go with Mal. The only problem is she gets her entire squad put on the skiff with Mal. So of course everyone gets on the skiff and Mal is like, what are you doing here? And Alina's like, oh, I was stationed here, it's fine, there's nothing to worry about. And he's trying to convince her to get off, and she's like, absolutely not, you don't tell me what to do, you're not my dad. But anyways, they eventually start going through the fold. It's this huge, super big moment, and Alina closes her eyes and she's all scared, and then it goes dark. The thing about the Shadowfold is that it has to stay dark, or else you'll gain the attention of these Volcra, these big, huge creatures that will just come at any sound and attack you. So it has to stay dark, and they have to stay quiet. So they're all on the skiff, they're down in their little, places, and for some reason, someone lights a lantern. I don't know why they did this, but they did. And of course, the Volcra come and start attacking them, and they haven't even made it halfway through the fold at this point. They are hardly even moving. Things go to chaos, everything goes wrong. The Volcra come and start attacking the skiff and start, destroying all the people there and throwing them off and killing them and all that kind of stuff. And Mal gets attacked. and Alina loses her mind. So of course Alina, being the heroic person that she is, goes to protect Mal, and she jumps in the way and pulls him away from the Volcra. They have this super huge heartwarming moment, and then she gets attacked by a Volcra. And then there's this huge searing burst of light all throughout the fold, encasing the entire skiff and everyone on it. The Volcra goes scattering, and everyone's like, what the hell just happened? So they take the skiff back to the docks, back in Grishaverse, because they weren't able to make a proper, trip over to the other side, and they're trying to figure out what just happened, where did that giant light show just come from? So they bring it back, and Mal and Alina are taken to separate medical camps to try and be, taken care of and see what's going on, and Alina is taken to go see General Kerrigan. And she goes in there and she's like, what's going on? I need to go find Mal. I was just on the skiff. We don't know what happened. And he's like, show me your arm. And she's like, what? So he pushes up her sleeve and she shows his arm. And then it is revealed that Alina is the Sun Summoner, who they need in order to defeat the Fold, to make the Fold disappear. So then General Kerrigan and everyone else tries to take her to Little Palace. And Mal is like, where's my best friend going? What's going on? And that's Shadow and Bone, kinda sorta simplified. That really only has to do with the Alina part of the story, and really only covering the first episode of several. And also, side note, there's the crows. We'll talk about the crows in a different video because we have our own special hashtag to try and get the crows coming back, but in case you're wondering, they're introduced in episode 1. The crows are in a different part of the world. They really have nothing to do with Alina, and actually they're from a completely separate story from Alina and all of her friends in Shadow and Bone. They originate in the Six of Crows duology, which a lot of people I know have not actually read the Shadow and Bone trilogy before they read the Six Crows duology. You really don't have to read both to understand each other. You can read the Shadow and Bone trilogy and you get a nice, happy ending without any issues, and you can read the Six Crows duology not even knowing that the Shadow and Bone trilogy exists, and that's fine. But for the show, the crows exist, and they interact with Alina and all these other characters. Because in the first episode, they are tasked with going to find Alina, taking her, capturing her, and bringing her back to where they live. The thing about the crows is that they live on a completely different part of the world. They live in Ketterdam, in Kurtz, which is a completely different country, its own little island nation that's separate from all the other characters. They are criminals. They do these crazy bombastic things and they are constantly getting in trouble, but that's just kind of the nature of where they're from and where they live. So, are they criminals? Yeah, but is that a bad thing? No. We love the crows in this house, but again, we're going to talk about the crows in a different video because they have their own separate hashtag that we want to get trending and to get going. So back to Shadow and Bone. What can you do to help to try and get this show off the ground and picked up again by Netflix or maybe any other streamer out there that will hopefully continue this story?
Part 2. Hashtag Save Shadow and Bone.
Again, Shadow and Bone was canceled after only just 2 seasons, which really only covered like a portion of the books. I mean, yes, technically Alina did have an ending, but her story was left on a huge cliffhanger, and it would just be such a shame to not see this entirety of this show brought to fruition. So why was this show canceled? It seemed to do great with streaming numbers, and it seemed to do great with a really, really passionate fan base waiting to see more, so why did Netflix cancel it? Netflix blames it on the SAG-AFTRA strikes, and that they just don't have the money to contribute to this fantasy show that really just wasn't pulling the numbers or pulling its own weight. But I just don't think that's true, and neither do many other people in the Grishaverse community like me. There was such a passionate fan base, the cast was so invested in it, and they want to do more. So, what can you do to help? So ever since its cancellation on November 15th, which at the time of recording this wasn't even a month ago, the Grishaverse community has been trying our hardest to do anything to gain the attention of Netflix or any other streaming companies out there. But what can you, as the viewer, do to help? Well, actually there's a lot of things. Number 1, you can sign the petition. At the time of recording, the petition has over 176,000 signatures, but we're gonna need more than that in order to gain the attention of any streaming companies out there. Sign the petition, let people know about it, and just spread the word about this amazing show. Number 2, donate to the Kickstarter. I know it's really hard to ask people to contribute money to anything, but if we want to gain the attention of Netflix, we need to show them that we were willing to do anything. The Kickstarter is to fund a billboard to go up in LA, somewhere near Netflix headquarters, or to hopefully gain the attention of just any streaming companies in the area, as well as to, get the word out about the show. Hopefully more people will see the billboard and say, huh, that sounds interesting, I'm gonna watch that. So hopefully that will also gain their attention as well. As of right now, the Kickstarter has raised over $10,000, but we need more than that to really get this Kickstarter going. There are plenty of tiers and rewards that you can get, such as fanfictions and manips created just for you, autographs from some of the cast on the show. So please, if you can, donate to the Kickstarter. Even just $1 helps. Number 3, you can stream the show. Something that we're doing in the community is we're having the show streamed all the time. And as you can see here, I currently have the show on, and I always have the show running in the background. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I could be drawing, I could be playing video games, I could be organizing all my random stuff that I have. It doesn't matter. I just always have the show going in the background. We're trying to get those streaming numbers up as high as possible because Netflix really only cares about views. And if no one's watching the show, of course they're going to cancel it. But here in the Grishaverse, we don't take no for an answer. So we're going to keep watching this show and we're going to get those numbers up. Considering it was in the top 10 in like 85 countries, I really don't think they can say that no one cares about this show. But also, it can just help to get more people out there watching it. So if you care at all about this show, please stream it. If you've never seen it before, watch it for the first time. Let us know how you like it. And if you have seen it before, watch it again. Rewatch it. Just keep watching it over and over. Introduce your family, your friends, everyone you know to watch this show. We also have daily streaming parties organized by our wonderful mods and wonderful people that we have here in the Grishaverse. If you follow at Save the Grisha on Twitter, you'll always know when we have a streaming party going on or a tweeting party going on. Which leads into number 4, contribute to the tweeting parties. We have tweeting parties going on pretty much every day with their own special hashtags. Contribute on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, wherever you feel comfortable, we're there and we're here to talk with you. Just keep interaction up as much as possible. Let us know how much you love this show. Talk about it. Tag Netflix. Go to their comments and let them know how much you want this show back because it's so important that we have this kind of show with this kind of representation to continue all the way through its story. You can follow our official accounts to always know what's going on. Again, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Pinterest, we're on Tumblr, we're on YouTube, we're everywhere. Wherever you go, you'll probably find us. And we're super loud and vocal. We just let everyone know what we want to do, how much we want this show back. Something else you can do is you can send postcards and letters to Netflix letting them know how much you want this show back. People are using these to try and let people know. This is just a little origami crow that I made real quick. It's not super hard, and you could just make these and post them up all around town in cafes and bookstores and libraries, wherever you go and wherever you frequent. Just put these up. Leave little QR codes everywhere to send people to the petition, to let people know about this show. Anything that will get the word out. And finally, interact. Just let us know and let other people know about this show. Spread the word, tell your friends, tell your family, tell people on social media. Be that annoying person who's posting the same thing on your story every day. I've done it every single day since the cancellation and I'm not gonna stop because I want people to know about this show. These characters mean so much to me and it's so sad that they were cut down during their prime. We were never able to see the final culmination of so many of these character arcs, and that's just sad. Tell Netflix and tell other streaming providers that we want this show. It deserves to be finished out. And that's about it. Here in the Grishaverse community, we don't back down. We have a saying here which is, no mourners, no funerals, which has more to do with Six of Crows than it does with Shadow and Bone, but they're one and the same. Just let people know about this show and let Netflix know especially that we're not going to take no for an answer.